What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us on Sons of Thunder podcast. We have your host, Seouljyu.
Yeah, and I'm Germs.
And we're happy to have you on. We're very excited. We're going to start this new podcast series where we're talking a lot of different things about men's mental health. It doesn't necessarily have to be gender specific, but given that we're both men, most of our experience and most of our friends are males, so it might lean a little bit more in that direction. We'll talk a lot more about fitness. We'll talk about finance, getting successful in the work world or entrepreneurship, just a myriad of things. And so we're super excited for you guys to join us.
Yeah, and we made this podcast and the title of it Sons of Thunder because both of us are Christian. Our faith means a lot to us in our lives, and what better example than the two sons of thunder, James and John, who were Christ's disciples. And for us, we want the message for just our lives to be, we live fervently and zealously for the Lord. So that's kind of where it originated. Now, as John mentioned, we're going to be talking a lot about different aspects of our lives, a lot of things that we've just learned and we feel like could be shared amongst everybody, who's willing to listen. And I think we've had some good advice given to us and that we want to bestow upon our audience. And so let's just jump right into it. So recently, both John and I have been going through this weight loss period where we want to, get in shape, look better. And John has been diving into some books that were really good. So I wanted to kind of touch on that first. So, John, what have you been reading lately and what have you learned?
Yeah, so I've read two specific books right now. The first book is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And the second book is called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but both very good books. They're focused on different aspects of self-help, quote unquote. But, one thing that's really interesting that the book mentions, so Atomic Habits is more on the baseline of improving yourself in micro habits, but, it's not like an atomic bomb habit. It's more of atoms, little improvements every single day over time through compound interest is going to help you improve by exponential values. So therefore, one of the things he says is if you improve 1% per day over a 365-day period, you're improving yourself 37x than you are, or you're 37x better than you are today. So that mentality has really changed my perspective because, we always think if we go to the gym or if we change one little habit or if we improve 1% in a day, we expect results. But the results really come in over consistency and over a long period of time. So those 1% start to compound really, really fast over a longer period of time.
I see. Yeah. So let me take a step back. What made you want to go on this fitness journey? I think from the time of July, when we first started having our discussions, you probably lost 40 pounds, somewhere in that area. And I think for a lot of people, that seems pretty daunting. And even for myself, I've lost 20 pounds since July, and even just that felt like it was pretty astronomical in terms of making sure I know what I'm consuming, how much I'm working out, what type of exercise that I'm doing. So for you, I guess let's just start with how did you get into this fitness journey and why?
Yeah, I think I still struggle with these issues, so it's more on the topic of maybe mental health, but we normally think that things happen to us for a reason and we're hard on ourselves and we can't do anything about it. So I ran into a few different podcasters and learning about self-accountability, learning about, different things that you could change about yourself And one of the few things that stand out, I mean, there's just a number of different information I received, but one of them that stand out, and I always remind my friends, or even people I care about that could really take on this feedback. It's like, well, you expect the opposite gender or whichever gender you're attracted to like you for who you are and find you attractive, yet we're not willing to put in the work at the gym, look physically fit, look, to the best of our abilities. And I literally sometimes have this delusion of reverse body dysmorphia, where we think, because we're on social media all the time, we think we're better looking than we actually really are, or we're reliving the past where we were skinnier and we still think we're that same person.
Yeah.
And I think I had a really honest realization, and I saw one of the podcasters were like, yeah, well, be honest with yourself, take off your shirt and look in the mirror and say, hey, if you were the woman that you would want to spend the rest of your life with, like, would you even be physically attracted to yourself? Let's keep everything else out. So I realized I was far from that, extremely far from that.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't happy with myself. And a few people I've seen on those podcasters where they're just like contemplating suicide because, they felt like the world was against them. Yeah. And a few influencers are like, well, why don't you get in shape first and then, decide if you want to do other things, but promise me you'll get in shape first and your perspective will change. At first I was like, that's a bunch of bull, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, how much is life really going to change if you get in shape and this and that? And I tell you, to this day, it's incredibly life changing when you are losing weight, because one thing that not a lot of people talk about, and they talk about it, but it's really not highlighted, but I want to highlight it on this podcast. One of the number one things that men really look for in life in general from other human beings is respect.
Yeah.
Right? People might say, oh, all guys want is to sleep with women, or all they want, I don't know what else they want, money or fame or whatever. But the respect supersedes all that. Like, I could guarantee you a guy who's really handsome and could get any woman he wants, but if he's disrespected, his sexual drive will go down towards that person. Mm-hmm. So with respect, the easiest way to get that received or exude that you should be respected is by being in shape.
Yeah.
Right? You walk into a room, you're ripped, people automatically look at you like, oh, this guy's different.
Yeah.
He respects himself. He's disciplined. And just because you're super jacked doesn't mean that people respect you, but you carry an aura of hard work, discipline, and that you care about yourself. Like, how could you love and care about others when you don't even respect yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go back to your point about like compounding each day and the habits that you create. I think it's just something that is not highlighted all the time, because it does take that level of dedication and that ownership of your life and wanting to be better. And like, I know when you talked about like people who are, who are dealing with mental struggles, or just even like their well-being is and they're struggling. I watched like a podcast and a few like reels that talk about, just do one more rep, or just do one more run, just do one more day of working out. It's just like those days. And once you get through that one, it starts compounding. And then eventually after a year, after 2 years, you start seeing a result, and that's where it becomes rewarding. So just doing that extra one day of going and hitting the gym and getting that good feeling of that dopamine high of just saying like, yeah, you know what? I'm proud of myself. I respect myself for coming to the gym each day that you go, But yeah, like going back to your point of like, just, I think just being in shape, starting with that and being like physically fit and physically where you want to be. And I feel like for me, I'm not even there yet, but just kind of being in that journey I know we talk about this all the time, but it's like, I think people kind of see you different when they see you change, moving towards, having a better, healthy lifestyle. They start respecting you more, like, oh, like, wow, this, like people probably see your stories like, oh, wow, John goes to the gym like twice a day, even in the mornings, like, that's hard. Like when it's 6 a.m. in the morning, it's cold, 50 degrees outside. I'm sure a lot of people are just like, hey, I'd rather just be at home, just like in this cozy bed and not have to go through that. But you push yourself through it. Like what motivates you every day to go through it, and what kind of wakes you up in the morning?
Yeah. Well, there's a ton of different angles I could go towards answering this question, but I would say first things first. When my eyes open from the alarm coming up, normally it ranges between 5:15 to maybe 5:30 a.m. every single day. It doesn't matter what day it is. It could even be a Saturday. It doesn't matter. What wakes me up is accountability for myself, accountability for you, for all my friends, that we have our weight loss program. We could go into all that later, but on top of that, I have a responsibility as an older brother. I have a responsibility as the man of our family. I have a responsibility not only for myself, but for all my customers. Like I think about all these different things that I have responsibilities for. And it's easy to think like, what's the point? Like, how is other people going to benefit from it? No, they are going to benefit from it because I'm going to be able to be my best self when I need to be my best self. Yeah. And if I don't discipline myself and train myself in these harsher conditions, then I can never be ready when the time is needed. So for instance, if there was something that physically happened, knock on wood, to any one of someone I cared about and they needed help. If I'm 240 pounds, out of shape, and heavily breathing and barely getting there, then I'm never ready. Like I could never help somebody. Or if I just want to help somebody just out of like genuine care and kindness, and if some old lady like needed help lifting something, I can't even do it being out of shape. Like you could take it to the micro levels, but I think honestly for myself, it's going back to the book of identity, process, outcome. Most of the time we think outcome, process, identity. So what he's saying is most of us tend to think, okay, and this is James Clear from Atomic Habits. Okay, well, I want to lose weight. I know I have to lose weight. So therefore I'll sign up for a gym. So that's outcome, process. I'll sign up for a gym. And then the identity. Well, it doesn't really change because just because I sign up for a gym doesn't necessarily mean I'm a healthy person. It's just a person that realizes that they need to lose weight. Yeah. But if I identify myself as a healthy person, then I think about the process. I think every single meal I eat, every single workout I do, I am a healthy person. What would a healthy person do? Mm-hmm. And then you kind of self-proclaim your own accountability. And that's another thing that the Naval Ravikant teaches on is self-accountability, proclaiming your own, what is that? Being accountable for everything that you say, right? So, and then the outcome changes, right? Little steps, eating healthier, eating less fats per day, going to the gym. If you do something for 18 minutes a day, right? I don't know if I did the calculation right. 18 minutes a day over a course of a year, I think that's 100 hours. You go to the gym 18 minutes a day, and that's 100 hours. And when you do 100 hours of something, you tend to be pretty good at something. Yeah. But the easy part is the first 18 minutes, the second 18 minutes. Try the 50th, the 60th 18 minutes. Like it gets boring, tiresome. And that's another thing that James Clear teaches on is fighting that boredom. The high level athletes, they are performing to the best of their abilities, and they're really the next level because they fight through the boring training sessions. It's hard, but it's boring. Try doing that every single day. Yeah. Boring. So ultimately it was about changing my own identity and holding myself to that accountability level.
Yeah.
So that I don't look like a fraud, not only to other people, but to myself.
Yeah. So as you're going through this like journey of like self accountability, getting in better shape, how did you? I know like people say, oh, like especially when it comes to like, oh, I want the six pack, or I want like these washboard abs. A lot of people say it starts in the kitchen. So like, what has your nutrition been, and how did you adjust to like your new workout, your new lifestyle? Were there any like big changes that you made?
I think both of us really made big changes. I think first things first, having an accountability group is incredibly important. As a male in this society, if you don't have a group of friends that are on the same page as you, that will push you to the next ability and share knowledge with each other, it's just going to get harder and harder. So make sure you have people that you could really trust, that could give you valuable information that will help you through the process. So with that being said, you have nutritional knowledge, I have nutritional knowledge. We share that in the group chat or whatever it may be. I just used the 2,000 calorie daily intake recommendations, right? So like 62 grams of fat, in between 250 to 300 grams of carbohydrates. My protein intake, I try to get to about, I think it's like 175, 180 grams, close to a 1-to-1 ratio to my weight. Now that's right. Like really subjective, but I want to stay bulky but I want to get so I want to get big and yoked but cut fat. So it's like a weird process, but having high protein is important. So, and we learned today from we actually got our DEXA body fat scan today to really learn about our bodies and just really take not only accountability but just learn about ourselves. And, I know on a regular basis, because of the American diet, we're way over the daily sodium limit. Mm-hmm. Like they say 2,300 milligrams. The nutritionist was like looking at us, she was like, you need to be under 1,300. I was like, 1,300? A bottle of Gatorade is 500 milligrams. Yeah. And so the reason why I know all this information in terms of like the daily intake and all that is because I memorized it. This is important for me to log every single day. I log all my food intakes. I use an app called Lose It, and I pay the subscription because this is very important to me. This body, and in a Christian perspective, I believe that our bodies are rented, right? Yeah. This is a mini temple for God. And what am I doing to clean up? What am I doing to take care of it? So if I don't even know what areas and nooks and crannies that mold could grow, like I need to know all those details to keep this place clean. And not only tracking my weight loss, but I'm doing other workouts. One of my favorite workouts that I like doing, and it's pretty much self-proven itself because I've been maintaining a lot of muscle mass by doing it too, is what my friend boss has taught me is low intensity steady state cardio, right? So zone 2 cardio training, keeping your BPM between 131. For me, it's like 130 to 135. For him, it's like 135 to 145 over a long period of time. And you could do different workouts. You could do incline walk. You could do light jogs. And you're not dying every single day. Yeah. Like, I don't know how your workout regimen, and actually you should share it because I think your workout regimen is a lot harder than mine on a daily perspective. Mm-hmm. But I like mine because I could do it every day.
Yeah, I think so. My workout regimen kind of stemmed from just like old habits. Whether it was just trying to lose weight and just common knowledge. I don't think I really dove into the calorie and the nutrition that you've introduced me to. It was kind of more like head knowledge, right? It's like, oh, well, if I run, then I'm going to eventually lose weight, and it was kind of more of a simple kind of state of mind. And I don't think that's really help me as much as I wanted it to, because I dropped in a lot of muscle mass as well, going through that process of, so what I was doing was I would run 2 miles a day. Sometimes I would push that up to 3 miles, at a pretty fast pace, trying to run it under 8 minutes, 30 seconds, and trying to push it down to even, running 7-minute splits. But doing that, I felt like I was going to lose a lot of muscle. I was going to lose a lot of fat. All the love handles are going to go away. But, what ended up happening was I lost a lot of muscle first, because as we learned today from our nutritionist, she said, your body's going to attack the muscle first. So I wasn't consuming enough protein for me to maintain my muscle mass. So it was my body was literally eating that first, and it kind of kept the fat, which is really what I didn't want to happen. So another thing that I did with my workouts and my just lifestyle in general was just try to eat healthier foods. So my wife is really big on intaking fruits and vegetables. So like in the mornings, she would cook me these egg frittatas, which consisted of eggs, broccoli, bell peppers, like mushrooms. Like sometimes, like when you eat that every day, you're not super excited every day to eat that, right? So it's kind of like, I mean, as much as she's a great cook and everything, but it's like, it's literally like, dude, you're eating like a tasteless thing, because we don't, there's not that much, and there's not a lot of sauce or whatever, So you just scarf that down, you drink your coffee, and then usually for lunch I'll have like a turkey stir fry that we make, and so that also has like pretty much the same vegetables, but ground turkey, 99% lean. Yeah, so I think that was a game changer, because I was constantly hungry. So the way that I would try to fill those pockets was with fruits. So like I would eat like bananas or like carrots, just to kind of fill in like with good foods, just to like make myself not hungry, and then usually have a light dinner. I usually would like make a smoothie, have like add like kale, like yogurt, apples, bananas, just really clean foods. And that usually kept the calories down. But then again, like that's not a protein heavy, those aren't protein heavy meals. So I think for me, like I have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, how can I, intake, what did she said? Like the nutritionist said, like it was every 2 hours, you need to take like 30 grams of protein.
Well, for us, because we're going for 180, right? So
Yeah.
if you're going for 180, what she was saying is that she goes by a 12-12 intermittent fasting regimen, right? And so she was arguing that every 2 hours is a span that you need to digest 30 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So if you, what is it, 180, is it, my math is not on point right now. Is it 6 times 30, right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So then 30 grams every 2 hours for a span of that's like 6 sections of that.
Yeah.
So then you'll get to 180. I mean, I don't know if I'm 100% bought. I mean, her logic makes sense, because she's saying your body could only process it 30 grams, to 40 to 50, she's saying at a high capacity. And then you're like overworking your livers and everything else. You're just kind of wasting away.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, but I tend to disagree with her, because if that were the case for me, I could consume 180 grams of protein within 4 hours. I don't think I pissed all of it away.
Yeah.
Like I would lose an immense amount of muscle mass if that were the case.
Yeah.
So it really depends on your body and your metabolism and whatever diet really works for you. But I think that's where it becomes important that calorie counting isn't just important. That's an aspect, but the macronutrients is what matters, right? So, like your sodium intake, she was like, you need to go under 1,300 milligrams of sodium. I was like, man, there's like no way you could do that. I mean, at least nowadays, you boil your chicken or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then getting under 60 grams of fat, that's hard. I mean, dude, that one large fries at McDonald's, sayonara to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think now that you're more aware, you'll probably count more of your macros.
Yeah.
And you'll start to see more muscle retention and more body fat burn. But also, you did mention something today, which was interesting, is that you noticed that you sit a lot longer.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And if you baseline that against how your wife kind of lives a daily day, I've always seen her on her feet. Like she sits down maybe like an hour, and then she's like already doing something else. Like she's either doing something for the baby or she's washing dishes or something. She's like always on her feet.
Yeah.
My average on my feet is 9 hours this whole past week.
Yeah.
And that includes a 3-hour workout schedule. And then what am I doing for the next 6 hours? Well, I have a stand-up desk. I'll like stand up.
Yeah.
I pace around. I do different sprints of working schedules, and then I make sure that I give myself a little break. I'm walking around doing something else, running errands. Like, you just have to keep being on your feet, or else if you just keep, like, if you only work out an hour and a half in a day, I mean, it's great. It's a great start, but you can't ever beat someone who's doing 9 hours of standing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's something that I want to implement moving forward, is just getting more activity, whether it's like taking a quick 10-minute break to go walk around. I work at a corporate building, so just going outside, doing a few laps, just to get the body just flowing, because it's just very easy for especially people who work in offices just to sit down, do your job for 8 hours, and then go back home. That's what I was doing for a while, and that's one of the reasons why I started this fitness journey, was because like I realized, dude, like this is kind of similar to what another podcaster said, was like, so when I married Sarah, and when I started dating her, I was like maybe 185, pretty lean.
You were lean.
Like,
by the way, he did what? Would you do Spartan race?
Yeah.
Was it the Super Beast?
Yeah. So I think we just did the Beast.
Okay.
We did all three of the Spartan races. And yeah, I mean, I was like lean, 185, pretty shredded, and then I thought like that was the end. You marry this girl, and then from there, like, that was the end for me. But like what I should have really realized is that that's the beginning, because like when you marry somebody, you make all these promises at the altar. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to provide for you. And then, a year down the line, you're fat, you're 220, you're watching TV, you're watching sports all day. And it's just like, that's not the promise that you made to that person. And it's like, you should, especially now moving into fatherhood, and that kind of has a whole different ball game, but it's like, no matter whether it's your daughter or your son or whoever is like who you live with, they're going to look up to you in some fashion. Right. So when my daughter looks at me, I'm the first person that she's going to see as like a male figure. Right. This is going to set the baseline for who she eventually meets down the line, as like a, future husband, and if she wants to go down that route. So like, that is a huge responsibility on fathers, and I try to preach that to some of our friends who also have kids. It's like, dude, like your son, your daughter, you're going to be the first male figure in their lives that they see. Now you have to set the example in the right way. So I think when I was thinking about that and how I wanted to change my lifestyle because of that, it really gave me that motivation, that drive, and the purpose, for me to go back into the gym, get more in shape. And I'm, still continue on this journey in all aspects of my life, not just with fitness, but financially, making sure that I'm planning for our family's future. It's just a like all around, perspective when it comes to taking ownership of your family and guiding them towards the right direction. Which also brings me to like a different category, but like dating, right? So, you being a single person, I think that's probably when you're the most motivated, right? You're back in the dating scene. You want to like, try to find someone that you want to spend time with and spend quality time with. Like, how has your experience been? And I think like the last time like we were both single. That was many, many years ago, you know? So like, how has the dating landscape changed? What have you learned? And like,
Ooh.
how are you been going about it?
The curveball. I didn't even anticipate to even talk about something like this, but I mean, it's not like I'm a master gamer, so like I can't be someone to say, okay, I know this, you know, this tricks here and there, like those other podcasters or other influencers. But I think there's a few things that you could work on yourself that could work in your dating game. Maybe not. I don't know. But first things first, the reason why my relationship and relationships didn't work in the past was, you know, I didn't really know who I was. Mm-hmm. I had an identity crisis, and I personally struggled with a lot, like gambling. I struggled with gluttony, like overeating. I struggled with lying to people because I wanted to do those activities. And even though it's frowned upon, I still wanted to do it. So I think it's more of resetting my structure of my own identity. Mm-hmm. And so I live very sequentially every single day, and that's just the way I operate. So for me, my structure in life is God, health, work, family, and then friends, brothers, whoever it may be that I care about. Yeah. And the reason why that structure is very non-commercial, or whatever people like to call it, because they always say, "Oh, it's God, family, yada yada yada." It's like, all right, well, let me like reset your mind a little bit. And some of the new fitness influencers are kind of hopping on the same train, but it's like, okay, well, God for sure, like that's the reason why I'm here. In my opinion, that's the reason why I'm here, is to serve Him. Mm-hmm. So that's my first thing. The second thing is, how can I provide for my family if I'm not healthy? Yeah. Like, I can't even go to work if something happens to me physically. So then I can't financially provide. So I need to be in a good shape. I have to be able to do hard stuff in the gym so that I could do hard stuff in life, right? The third is work, financial, all that, because I can't take care of my family if I'm not healthy and if I don't have money, right? So those are the things that supersede in my mind for what's important. And then family and friends, kind of self-explanatory there. But it's not that I'm trying to be selfish when it comes to this. This is the way I could be the best self for the people I care about, for the people that matter to me. Mm-hmm. And I can't do those responsibilities unless those things are taken care of first. So the way I operate 5 a.m. is I pray, I read the Bible, I look myself in the mirror and remind myself who I am, right? I'm a man of God. I am a healthy person. I'm the man. Sometimes that's the saddest thing. A lot of guys at times think there's something, but many times they don't believe they're the man. Like, they just think they just exist in this world. And that's sad, because some of my friends, you could just tell they just don't have that same confidence level. And for me, I lack with a lot of like self-worth issues too, and all that. But if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to believe in you. And that this kind of exudes into the dating game. If you don't even have confidence in yourself, how could you expect someone that you're trying to attract to like you or love you the way that you love yourself? You don't even love yourself. Why should they do it?
Yeah.
Like, it makes zero sense. Yeah. So just resetting your mind and not loving yourself in a narcissistic way, but loving yourself where you respect yourself, right? And you know you're the man. You know that you're one of one. And I think that saying and mentality is so underrated, because you have things that I don't have. I have things that you don't have, right? And if you look at it in a business perspective, and I don't want to digress too much, but in a business perspective, if you're looking at product A versus product B, one product's going to win the market, right? How do you win that market? You cater towards what you're good at in the market, and you highlight that your competition doesn't have this. I mean, if that wasn't the case, then like, why is Juicy Fruit still existing when there's like, I don't know, other bubble gums or other gums that exist in the market? They're a commodity. So they have to separate themselves and through marketing, advertising, and the niche that they provide or that they serve in their markets. So how are you being the niche for the opposite sex if you're, homosexual or sorry, heterosexual, but if you're homosexual, then you know what I mean. So I think when it comes down to it, it comes down to the baseline. Are you confident in yourself? Do you believe that this person should love you and respect you to that degree because you uphold yourself to that standard? Mm-hmm. And that exudes out. So if you already have self-confidence issues, then you're most likely not going to hit on the girl, right? Yeah. You're just too scared. You're going to be on Instagram and maybe just hit them up on a DM because you're too scared.
Yeah.
So if you see yourself in that perspective, if you respect yourself and you live by those, top 5 things that you have on your own list that matter to you, and you uphold yourself to a certain standard, there's no one could tell you you're doing it wrong, right? Because that's what's important to you.
Yeah.
But you could always learn. So.
Yeah. I think this is just my belief. I don't think everyone believes this, but I think every man is born to be a leader in some aspects of their life. And I think especially when it comes to 3 things that I think is key when it comes to being a leader and having that type of presence is one, what we've talked about a lot, is like discipline, right? Having the discipline to restrain yourself from doing certain activities that might be harmful to you, discipline to wake up every day to do things that will benefit your life, So I would say discipline is definitely one of the keys of what makes a great leader. Another thing is taking ownership, right? We talked about that. We talked about taking ownership of the things that you're responsible for, not pointing the finger at other people and saying, oh yeah, you know what? Like they it's because of them, or it's because of, this situation, I couldn't do X, Y, and Z. At the end of the day, most of the times you should be pointing, in the mirror and saying, this is the person who's most responsible for why something didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think those 2 things are definitely key. And then I think the last thing for me that's super important is just like I think also having that confidence. I think, and confidence also kind of stems from all of that as well, right? Once you see yourself as a disciplined person, and I think that having that ownership and discipline will also create, maybe the most important thing is your brand. Like, what do you stand for? What do you want other people to believe about you, or what people see you as? Because that exudes everywhere. Like you said, like it exudes when you're speaking to, somebody that you're interested in, or even just at work. Like they could just tell that by your brand, like what defines that person? How do I view this person? And it doesn't have to be exactly exterior wise, because, it's just not everything, but it can also play to what your brand is.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think you bring up a few good points. I think it's interesting. Some people have been having this discussion talking about what is a high value man. And some people I've saw came to the conclusion that a high value person is a person with incredible self-control.
Yeah.
Right. So that hits the nail on the head with one of your points. And why is that a high value man? Well, if you have self-control or self-discipline, then you could wake up, go to the gym, right? Every single day. You have the ability to say no to bad foods or bad decisions. You have the ability to, even if religion is important to you, you would have the discipline to fast and pray and do all the different activities for your spiritual life. Like, all of it kind of stems down, and you won't cheat, right? Like if you have self-discipline, you have the ability to not have your eyes wander and understand that you have a duty that you don't give into the little cravings. You don't give into the hot girl, or you don't give into the little pizza bites, or you don't give into all these different things that that's not good for you. So ultimate self-discipline is one of the key aspects of being a high value man. It doesn't necessarily, you don't have to be a rich person to be a high value person, because yeah, I mean, you could find Bitcoin millionaires overnight, but they could lack self-discipline, they could lack character, they could lack all these different things, and no one would be like taking them seriously. They're just going to look like a geek who made millions of dollars overnight. That, yeah, he has more buying power than me, but at the end of the day, if I am self-disciplined all the way through and through, my future wife would appreciate it. My kids would appreciate it. Anyone could come up to you with any problem, work, personal, whatever it may be. They know that you could be a rock for them.
Yeah. And I think it has to start from the inside of like being that high valued person, because you can't bank that on something that's materialistic, because you would think that a high valued person would still be that person even without the materialistic good, right? So like if you say like, oh, I'm a high value man because I have X amount of money, I have all these cars, that I think a lot of like the secular world like believes that, and it's because it's very important to that certain individual. That's why they're saying like this person's a high value man, but at the end of the day, you should be able to strip that from somebody, and someone should still have the same character and brand that makes them the high valued person.
Yep.
Right. And I think like, especially for us, like when we put that in Christ and when we put that in our belief in our God, it's like, well, that's not something that just changes, that is not something that someone can just strip from us. And I think that's where a lot of it starts, at least for me. And I'm sure for you as well, of like where we find our character, where that all starts, and from there, I feel like it just branches to other things in our lives.
Yeah, exactly. And so then that kind of segues into a different point of happiness. Like, what is real happiness? People seek happiness, and everyone's like, oh, I need a vacation, I need a break, I need to go Hawaii, I need to do this, I need to do that. But at the end of the day, as a man, your happy days are over. But I'm not saying don't be happy. There's a different spectrum of happiness.
Yeah.
Right. So as a Christian, it's a lot easier to come to that realization, in my opinion, if you're really true Christian, because then you know that for the remainder of your life as a saved person, that you're going to be with Christ, and that's all you need. Now, my job is to help others understand the same thing. But so therefore, in the baseline of waking up every single day, I should be some level of content, satisfied, happy, because I know where I'm going to be. Now, not to say that doesn't mean like, oh, if something tragic happens in your life, like you won't be happy, but there's that baseline of satisfaction, joy, and happiness. So it really depends on what people are really looking for in quote unquote happiness. And that's like the void that we try to fill in with ourselves. So I think once you figure that out for yourself, that does change your perspective on things as a man, especially when we're always chasing after happiness, right? It's like, oh, we'll be happy if I eat a burger, or I'll be happy if this hot girl talks to me, or I'll be happy if this and this happens. It's like, reality is you're probably not going to be, I mean, you'll probably be temporarily happy, but it's not going to be long-term happiness, right? Yeah. Now, if you find your wife and all that, okay, that's a whole different story. But it's like we're always looking for that temporary dopamine. We're looking for the little different things that could give us that little high, and then we continue. But I think reassessing not only your spiritual life, your physical, but like your mentality towards happiness. Like, why am I waking up every day and feeling like this? Like assessing why you feel like a certain way, because I feel like, and I don't mean to say feel, I think the whole aspect of diving into your feelings as a man is very complicated, right? Because if you dive into our feelings, our natural innate feelings is to be aggressive, is to be like forceful. The people that really tap into their feelings like do dangerous things, because we're like that type of, like, if I'm mad, I don't just like do something stupid. Like I could like punch the wall and then it could scare people, right? So I think just understanding, just not diving into your feeling, having that discipline to control your own feelings and emotions, it comes a long way. And you talk about self accountability, and we're talking about that. It's weird. Society teaches you at work. I've read through all these different things, like through email, Slack, communication, all that on Teams. If you make a mistake, don't admit you make a mistake. Yeah. You gotta say, great catch. I didn't notice that happened. Well, thank you for reminding me. It's like, what? If you messed up, you messed up. Yeah. Like, own up to it. And I think people respect you more if you own up to it. Not the fact that you just say, oh, I'm sorry, I missed this attachment. When I respond to my customers, to my colleagues, if I mess up, I'll be like, I made a mistake, I missed this, but it won't happen again. I guarantee you that, right? Like, people make mistakes, everyone understands it, and you take accountability for it, and then you change. Mm-hmm. I think people respect you more than, great catch, Jeremy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, I didn't notice that the attachment wasn't there. It's like, dude, you knew. Yeah. Be accountable for it.
Yeah, that's right. This is another thing about, leadership, taking ownership of your mistakes, and just, like keeping yourself accountable for it. But yeah, I think that's a good place to stop for our first episode. I feel like we covered a lot. We talked about so much that's with fitness, our lifestyles, what it means to be a high valued person. And I think, hopefully, in the next episodes, we'll dive deeper into that and also just cover more topics. But yeah, as for now, that's a good place to wrap up.
Yep. I definitely left the dating part succinct because that's not my forte. Yeah. You're better at, you're married. You should be teaching it. You're the actual fisherman that's like respected right now. I'm like a guy on a wild goose chase on paper, right?
Yeah. So. Well, okay. Well, that'll be set up our segue to the next topic for our podcast. But
I need to learn. I need to take some notes.
So we'll definitely talk about that next time and just dive straight into it. But for now, this is the Sons of Thunder podcast. This is Seouljyu and Jerms. It was a great first session. So we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Interchangeably Seouljyu and John every single time. The whole podcast, you call me John. Who's this John? Thanks, guys.